I'm not in my old studio, so tell me if I should do something different. There's a window, but
Is there a shade for the window?
nope. But I could put a piece of paper over it, white paper.
Um, are you on a desktop
Ye-
computer? Like, could you
Yes, I am.
move?
Oh, I could.
Oh, yeah, there's
Oh,
two
there's a
windows.
window there
Yeah,
too.
that's perfect.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So if you're not in your studio, where are you?
Well, I'm in a we moved from Rockport to Portland,
Okay.
Maine, and we're in this little apartment, which is actually great. So this is my studio, but it's not my big fun. I miss my studio, but you know, it's been really good to not have it and to have to think differently.
Yeah.
So I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. I'm excited.
And our children's editor lives in Portland, Vicky Smith.
Vicky does.
Yeah.
Yes, I have not seen her. I
think
forgot.
South Portland. Is that
It's nearby.
different? Yeah, yeah.
It's different, but it's close.
Yeah.
As Maine goes.
So tell me how the idea for this one came to you. I mean, I know you live close to his granddaughter, right?
Yeah, she's in the same town as I am. I was looking for my next book and thinking that I wanted it to be a biography. And I was out walking my dog as I do every day, and you know, that doesn't necessarily mean ideas are going to come, but I was thinking about it hard because I was ready to start something. And I thought, if I could do a book about anybody, who would it be? And I thought, oh, E.B. White. He was some writer. And boom, this question started popping in my head. And I raced back home and started reading Letters of E.B. White again. And that was a book that his granddaughter Martha edited a number of years ago. So that was the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was a little surprised. I mean, I love E.B. White, but I have not really studied his life. And by the number of sort of revelations in your book that he really did, it seems like everything he could to procrastinate from writing. Like that boat business.
Yeah.
Was that, I mean, he's such an admirable writer in so many ways.
I know. I found that so refreshing that and that was something that I wanted to answer. Was it easy for him? Did he just want to dive into it in the morning, and did it, you know, just rattle off his typewriter? But none of that was true. He worked as hard as the rest of us did. And I think that especially you get to a certain point in your life and career, and it may be procrastination, but building a boat just sounds like a really great idea. And you know, it just sounds like you'll learn so much as you would about, you know, the same as doing a book. So I can see the pull to get away from writing. I mean, he did have that great quote about, you know, the best writing is done snatching time away from something else. So anyway, I was surprised, but still he wrote volumes. He certainly had the discipline to do it when he had to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I loved how you included so many manuscript pages.
Yeah.
Was that to kind of teach young readers just how a writer works, or why did you do that?
Well, that was part of it. And I didn't know how many manuscript pages or how many drafts it took to get to that famous first line, "Where's Papa going with that axe?" But I wanted to find out, because that was very telling for me as a writer. How did that come about? And not just that, but how did Charlotte's Web come about? But to show one manuscript page, well, there's a draft, or there's a rough idea. But he really was working on the whole story and how to begin that story. So I showed 5 out of 7 that I knew of. I've heard there's 8, but there was enough that you could see he was sort of all over the map. He began one way and ended up another. And I loved that. As you know, I loved seeing his process that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so clear this up for me if I'm wrong, but your paintings are obviously in the book, but then there's this also nice kind of intricate collage work and sort of framing devices.
Yeah.
Is that something that you do as well, or is that done at the publishing house, all this sort of collage work?
The collage work, because it is collage work, the as an illustrator, I have to know what the design of the book is going to be, so that the idea that I'm writing it and doing the illustrations, and the marriage of those two is really how the book is designed, how it looks. So when you come to a chapter opener and you see those bits and pieces of the labels and the drop cap, all that, and even the number from the typewriter up at the top to indicate the chapter number, all that had to be decided. So I played with that for a long time. And then my work gets photographed. So I am working with a designer, and in this case, we worked with a wonderful photographer who both photographs my work and scans it for the same book. And because he's so good at merging those two, it's better that it's done by one person. So we don't have a scanner, someone photographing, one person gets his hand on the whole book. But so I have wonderful designers who gave me some good tidbits of information. For instance, I was really interested in using the manual typewriter as much as I could. That was the essence for me of E.B. White. If I had one object, it would have been the typewriter. So as I dissected it, the designer said to me, kids don't really know what a manual typewriter is. They don't know how it works. And they're going to see these errant pieces and not have any idea. They might not even know this is a typewriter font. So we start out the book with how a typewriter works. And I love that infographic to set the tone. We're not assuming the reader knows or knows, and we're just sort of a gentle lead in. And it was another piece too, when I was making the collages for his 3 children's books. Those were fairly big, the Stuart Little's behind me. And there too, I didn't want to assume that someone reading this book remembered passages from Stuart Little or Charlotte's Web or Trumpet of the Swan. I wanted to give them that feeling of the book again. So that's why I created those. And so everything you see is put together by me, nailed, screwed together, wired together. And then it's a piece of art just as you see it that's been photographed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so tell our viewers, I've read this bit about taking an egg to E.B. White's granddaughter. Tell people why you did that and what that involves.
Well, I had gone a great distance in this book before it dawned on me that, and I was including a lot of E.B. White quotes. I had found photos in other books and other places. So in my style, what I do is I Xerox them and then I start to make my dummy with all these pieces. And what I didn't realize was that I was going to need permissions from the White family. So at a certain point, I wrote her a handwritten note because I knew that's what E.B. White would have done. And I said, could we talk about what it might take, how to go forward? And at that moment, I learned that not anyone can write a biography, but not anyone can use these materials. So we met at my studio, and it was getting near Easter, and I'd read so much by this point. I was well over a year into the book. And I was it was around Easter time, and the geese were laying eggs, and believe it or not, there were goose eggs in some of the stores, the smaller grocery stores. And I thought, oh my God, there's a goose egg. I'll get one for Martha. And I did exactly what E.B. White did in a letter to the young children, which is in the back of the book. He blew it out and he gave it to these kids so that they could always have this egg, which he felt was one of the most miraculous things in the world. And I thought, if anybody would love this egg, it's Martha. So I wrote out that letter, or portion of that letter, and gave it to her. And that was how that happened. But I think Martha and I had this wonderful rapport, and we were on the same wavelength, because I was completely interested in all the details of making that boat. When E.B. White made the boat for Joel, and small details. What kind of pencil did he use, and just all. And Martha had the answer to a lot of questions, so we quickly began doing a lot of back and forth. And she brought me things, for instance, family movies that I didn't know existed, and his scrapbook that he made as a young man around the time I think he was in Cornell.
And all the photos of Joel and just Catherine and Andy themselves. I mean, it just makes the whole thing really complete. So
yeah, and it allows us to tell the story on different levels. So you want to say as much as you can, for instance, about his friendship with James Thurber, but there's only so much room. But we have that great photo, and we were able to have some, comic captions for them to, in their own words, say something that was much richer than just a text.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated being able to do that. And they really let me run with it. So yeah, that's a great way to, it's just great to have a biography that has different kinds of information.
Yeah. Well, congrats on this. You did a great job. And we loved it, as you know.
Yes, thank you. Exciting. It's almost time.
Yeah. Now you're getting there.
Yeah.
So we'll get this ready to run, and congrats again.
Thank you. It was good to talk to you. This was so easy. You made it so easy. Thank you.
Good.
I'll see you again soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, I hope so.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.